Live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to what's going to be a brand new show on the Comic Book Advocates Network. And there's your brand new host, Meredith the Noob. She's not new at hosting, but new at making comics. She's going to take us on her journey. And that's an amazing thing. Just even from my fetish point of view, with my fetish books, one of the most exciting thing was actually having a character that you could watch the journey from. So you're basically that same person that we're going to be able to watch over the next coming weeks. And the goal is for me to personally try to help you to get your comic book made in 1 year from now. So I told Meredith I've got her back. I'll come on all the programs she needs me to. If I can't because I'm traveling, I'll watch it. I'll talk to her about what I saw on the program. And we're going to get her to make a comic book. But we're starting out right here as a panel that's going to actually start a web series. I don't even know what they call them anymore. What do the kids call these? Live streams. Like, there's no term for this. The closest thing I think is podcast. And after this whole thing, we're going to have a name for it. But it seems the winning contenders right now are live streams, video vlogs, video logs, and what's the other thing? Lives. A lot of people are starting to call it lives. But whatever it gets wound up being called, that's what Meredith's going to do. And we'll actually be downloading it as an audio file, too, for the podcast. So it will be both at the end of the day. So, Meredith, introduce yourself, and then I got to make a quick statement, and we'll be on our way.
Okay, you guys, I'm Meredith Loughran. I am the comic noob. I've got a few other shows that are live streaming. I'm just going to say that for now until we come up with our own coined phrase. But this journey is something that I've always wanted to do. And here I am. I'm 48, so closer to 50 than anything else. And, what a heck of a time to start this journey and do something new. One of the things that's really exciting for me is the fact that I'm doing something for the first time. And when's the last time any of us did that? So, there's that aspect of it too. But it just appeals to my creative side that I love writing stories. I'm not new at writing stories. And I have questions. How do you script it? How do you find the people who you want to invite into your team and into your comic book world? How do you entrust the characters that you've created and put them on a page and, creating those panels, the storyboards. There's just so much that I've learned already, but I'm only at the tip of the iceberg. And I know that it goes a lot deeper than that. And so I'm excited to share this journey as I try and develop a story into a comic book, something that I really feel deeply and strongly about. And while I'm doing this, I'm sharing this journey. So, there's an argument that there are no stupid questions. And I firmly believe that, because if one person has that question, you're not alone. There are other people who might have that same exact question. And so by having the foresight to sit here and say, you know what, I don't know everything. I'm okay with that. Let's learn from the best. Let's learn from people who are in the field and get them to talk about it and get them back down to their roots. Where did you start? How was it? What did you trip over? And we're going to learn from them so that if you have ever felt like you wanted to create a comic book, it doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. If that's in you, then I hope that you follow along and travel along this journey with me. And with that, Rob, you've got an intro. Let's get back to you.
Well, my intro is more of a statement, and we're going to talk about it right actually during this show. It's going to bring up our first question. I made a statement this week. And before I go back to sharing, because I want to look at the camera or look at, do I look like I'm looking at you when I look here, right? Because I was watching my video. This looks like I'm looking at you. When I look up here, it looks almost awkward.
When you look up at your camera, you're talking to everybody.
The audience. But sometimes, like, I look at myself, especially with the reflection, it just looks odd. I should be like, hello, people.
There you go.
So listen. Uncle Rob, he said some things this week about his personal opinions on the word indie. Now, when I said that, I did not want anyone to come along with me on that journey. That was a personal comment about how I felt about it. What I'm trying to get at is if you want to make something with the word indie in it and you want my support, you have it. As long as you are someone who follows the PAIR method, and we'll be talking about that next week, and you live by an ethical, professional, and responsible nature in this community or industry, as I believe it to be, then you have no problems with me. I don't care if you call yourself the indie princess, the indie dog, the indie unicorn, the indie gatekeeper. Might be a problem with me, but I'd still let you walk over and we'd have conversations as long as we could maintain respect. So with that in mind, please, I thought I was going to get backlash, but all I got was people now afraid to use the word indie. That wasn't my intention. My intention was about a personal growth. Everyone has to start somewhere. When you guys joined my journey, remember, I was about, well, for a lot of you, I was already 7-8 years into my journey. I would started way before. I remember this network, actually, we figured out it turns 8 this year. Well, the very beginning of this network was 8 years ago. We're celebrating our 5th year having a website, 4th year of, and this is the month. We're actually on the 16th. It's 4 years of using the URL creators of written sins. So for those of you who are back with me in the day, you've seen that journey. But a lot of you who showed up in the last year or two, you just got to see the pre-assembled parts. That's why I'm so excited about this, because I didn't get to, back when I was growing up, we didn't have these fancy things called live streams. We only had YouTube, and none of us were convinced that it would ever stay around. And we thought that it was kind of pompous to put yourself on it. Boy, were we wrong. We just had to do dumb things, and we could have all gotten paid when YouTube showed up. If we only knew I could be a billionaire right now, kids. But no, seriously, indie's not a bad word. It is a bad word to me. That was my personal experiences, and it only means how I won't be using it. When Meredith calls her, if Meredith decided and came to me tomorrow and said, hey, I want to be the comic book noob, but I want to be the indie comic book noob, I'd be like, cool, how can I help? What graphics do you need? What do you need? And that goes for any one of you. This is not a declaration of anything but for myself and explaining why I don't go by the indie moniker. Remember, we made it Comic Book Advocates so it could be more inclusive, more encompassing. Why would I draw a line? And I just wanted everyone to know that. You can call yourself indie anything you want, as long as you're not calling me the indie advocate. So now, I know you had some thoughts on indie and all that, because you're coming in, you're brand new. So let's talk about that. As you're coming into this industry that is now broken apart, it's not dying, kids. Don't listen to the Chicken Littles. This is just a moment where everything cracked and broke, and we got to see what was broken, and we get to play with it and put it back together like we've done many times before. So you're coming into a point where we're seeing an exodus of creators who are not talking about staying around. I've heard some go, I'm done, this isn't worth it. And we're seeing a lot of, the nice way to put it is, from the 90s, the poses are taking their bags and leaving. So what is your impression of the current thing as you're heading into the wave of destruction that is coming to the industry of comic book creating, and how does that make you feel as a new creator?
I've got a lot of thoughts on this, actually. I embrace the indie side of things, you know, the that moniker, if you will, because I've never really, and I don't want to insult anybody, but I've never been a lemming as far as that's concerned. I kind of walk to the beat of my own drum. I've always gone on the harder path, if you will. And, you know, this is in my writing, this is in my poetry, this is in, you know, websites that I've launched and other projects that I've done. I've always been kind of that sole person because I have a vision in my head. And I got to a point where I said, if I have to wait for other people to join me, I'm never going to get this off the ground. And that's happened more times than not, where I relied on people to partner with me. I waited for them and they never stepped up. So I embraced the indie moniker to say, you know what, if I have to go alone, I do embrace the I, because if I have to wait, it won't ever get done. And that's part of the reason why I'm very excited about the Comic Noob, because it is my journey, but I want to share it with anybody. And I'm not waiting for people to sit with me and do it. I can't force anybody. And we've had this conversation several times where you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink. You know, you can give them all the tools in the world. You can give them all the help, but at some point they're either going to take it, they're going to, or they're going to leave it. You know, some of them are like, yeah, you know, and then they come back maybe a year later and go, I need you again. And you're like, but you didn't do anything with the tools I gave you before. What makes now any different? So it's all of these things. So I embrace the indie, and I think part of it is your conversation with why you're not using indie anymore really made me think about that. I'm like, oh, I never thought of that extra I in indie, where it is me, because you have those people who embrace that side of it. It's all about me. It's all about I. What can I do? How can I be bigger? And that that builds walls around them. And, maybe those walls are on the backs of other creators that they don't have the time of day for when they reach a certain point. And so I truly understand that, and I get it. So it kind of broadened my idea of indie when you said that. And I want to thank you for that. It's not that I'm afraid to use it, because I embrace it in my interpretation of it, but I understand what you're saying. And moving forward, I want to be careful with how I use it, because I don't ever, and I'm saying I a lot right now, but I am speaking about me. I don't want to be at a point where it's all about me and I stop thinking about you, the audience, the people, the ones that I really want to advocate for and help, because it's something that I've always done. I have a hard time advocating for myself, and I'm finally getting over that hurdle to help myself. But at the same time, I always have that lead, that line for other people to hold on and say, you know what, if I'm ahead of you, I can help pull you forward. I don't ever want to push you back. So that's how I feel about that. And we are open to questions. So if there is anybody out there, Rob, you've been doing this weeks.
What's that?
I don't know where you keep the energy. You've been doing this for weeks. You've had your 4 o'clock.
Believe it or not, I used to have a lot more energy. I feel beat up. I'm naturally hyper. Like, I don't mind the 4 o'clock. To be honest with you, it's beating me up. And we were talking about this pre-show. And it's ironic because it fits perfectly in this with having to become a teacher for my 5-year-old with no training, no understanding of what a lot of it is. Because as a parent, I'm inherently teaching him standard morals, how to behave. And I become the parent who's like, hey, you, don't do that. Hey, you, don't make me get up. Oh, boy, don't make me come over there. And I'm teaching him not to touch the oven. Well, now all of a sudden I'm teaching him to read alphabet. And I can't teach him the way that I taught him as a parent. I have to teach him more in an aspect of a teacher. And we were talking about this because in just 3 months, he's going to be off to kindergarten for the first time. He's been in school already. So I feel the pressure of it, which is almost like it reminds me, ironically, of starting in indie comics back in the day, which I now call independent comics, because back then I didn't know what I was doing and it was intimidating. So I understand that. That's why I do these panels. Let me tell you, I could do a panel every day about how cool Rob is and all the things Rob likes, and I could just talk about the things I want to talk about every day. But when I make my schedules, which we have one for next week right here, and I'm writing it down, all the topics that are going to be done, those are how can they help a person. And first thing I do is write down throughout the week when we're doing these panels. Someone will say something. Ooh, that could be a good one. Ooh, that could be a good one. And I get like 10 or 12, and then I condense it down to the 5 I like and forget the rest. I walk away from the rest. And then the next week starts and everything starts again. Sometimes I've had something come back to me and go, that's right, we forgot that one. I'll do it again. But I deliberately delete it. So I'm trying to do something brand new to keep it interesting. And, I don't want a rhythm to form with these. I want it to feel like an actual Comic-Con experience. And I know people show up daily for it. So as far as the energy, that's just what you need. And this is the truth. Not only is it intimidating, scary, but you got to be the only one willing to lose sleep. You got to be willing to sacrifice. And I say this all the time. It's like the person who goes to a gym. When you go to a gym, and let me tell you as a person, I miss the gym right now. And I have a bad back, so I'll never be this person again. But I started off as the typical white guy who's very thin and wore the black wife beater. and thought he had the bigger muscles than he did. I mean, I wasn't bad or anything, but I shouldn't have been wearing the wife beater. And I wore the black wife beater just because I have wider shoulders and it was more comfortable for me. You notice there's always this bunching here. It's a true thing. I just always have had that feel that shirts don't fit me right. So I was very thin. People don't believe that until I show them a picture because of how big I am now. I grew my ribs 2 inches by working out so much, which is apparently one of the hardest feats to do to your body because you have to put on such mass that your body actually grows bones. I did that by going to the gym twice a day. Twice a day I went. I worked out, I did cardio. I lifted. For 2.5 years I lifted. I started out not being able to lift 100 pounds right. I didn't realize how weak I was. I thought I was a tough guy because I could get hyper and do things in a moment with adrenaline. But without the adrenaline going, I was a weakling. And I can say that now because I know where I started. So as a weakling, I went to the gym, found a bar full of weights. My friend was there, and I'm like, yeah. And he worked with me, so I was like, I have to show off a little bit. So I lift this thing up, I get it up, I go down, and it's just not coming back up. So he helped me get it up and all that. And I learned from that experience that you just can't run into a gym and lift the heaviest thing you find to impress someone. And I feel like so many noobs do that. They show up and I'm going to be the next Stan Lee. If someone tells me they're going to be the next Stan Lee, I stop listening. I'm less interested in helping them. If someone tells me how great they are, because I know where I started, I know where I went for that. You know, I have this ability where if I can sit down and really hone it, I could do something with it, or I could brag about how great I am. And, you know, ultimately, I went that road. After learning that, I decided I'd have to be slower. I've been methodical. I spent years in the background of comics. So when I showed up, people were amazed by how many names I knew, how many people I knew. And I knew a lot of where the dead bodies were because I had been talking to people behind the scenes. And that's kind of what's made people stop and pay attention to me a lot was the study. And I don't know who's a wrestling fan here, but if you guys know the wrestler Triple H, he has a moniker called The Game. And what he basically did, and this is really who he was, he studied wrestling. He's one of those guys who would watch videotapes. He would talk to people about being better. He'd go to the gym. He'd learn new moves. He always wanted to put on the best show he could. And I took that mentality when it came to not just creating, but everything else I would do, including advocating. So you need to give that energy into it, that dedication. You know, when I'm tired and I'm like, oh, I'm tired, I just want to sit down and I want to watch a video. I have it programmed into the back of my mind where it's like, yeah, sure, go lay down and let everything pass you by. Because I'm sure the next opportunity will just wait for you. I mean, you're only 41. Go ahead. Wait, princess. Go lay down like you did for 7 years, telling yourself you'd always get this done. Or we could do what we've been doing for the last 7 years. Getting off you, actually longer now. Now it's 8-9 years. Get off your ass. Get what you said you were going to get done this week done, and shut up. We'll take a nap later. We'll take a sleep when we can. You know, take care of your kid first. Take care of that. Spend time with your family. Live up to your commitments. Get everything done, and then there's time for TV. I'll be honest with you. I don't play video games anymore. I love video games. I saw PlayStation 5. I haven't played a video game for myself in about a year. I saw PlayStation 5 coming out. I'm like, ooh, I need that. I want that. Because that's how much I love video games. And then I realized, but what do I need it for? I don't have time. I'm either advocating for someone. I'm raising a 5-year-old. I'm trying to do these amazing panels with people and helping other people in the industry. A lot of people don't realize how many people I help behind the scenes because I don't brag about that. I don't ever try to talk about who I'm helping for 2 reasons. 1, it's ugly. Don't be that person. You don't need to be talking about that. And 2, I don't want to blow anyone up. You know, I don't want to blow anyone up because someone might be just learning right now. Why am I going to say, see this person, they don't know what they're doing. They need me to teach them something. If you're going to be a mentor, be a mentor. And that means not talking about it. We're only talking about it today because of that, because this is it. And it's important. And I suggest this as you hear Jackson in the background. I love it. He's like the Comic-Con sounds. So I really stress this. Find someone who can be a mentor, not confusing someone. Like I have said some people in my past were mentor-like because I understood a mentor is one-on-one. I have never had someone I would consider a direct mentor, but Buddy Scalera is the closest thing that I've had. I've had great friends who have helped. We have helped each other climb up together. Chris Madd, off the top of my head, instantly, Chris Matt is the guy. We have climbed that ladder together in comics. And, you know, I'm very proud to know Chris Matt. A couple other people, Bob Sally. Bob Sally was one of the first people, and now he's, of course, with Source Point Press doing amazing stuff. Yeah, I met him at New York Comic Con years ago, before any of us were a name, and we were going to this creator connection, and we always stuck together, and now you see that group rising out of the rest. But here's the thing, Meredith, that same place I go to year in and year out, and this might be the first year I'm not going, and it breaks my heart to say I don't think I'm going to New York Comic Con with everything that's going on financially and not knowing what the virus is going to bring. I will try to sign up for a table, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to fully commit. I don't think they'll accept me anyway, but I might get a pro pass. I have family up there. I don't know. But right now, it breaks my heart to say I might miss it because I get to see those people that have come up with for all these weeks, months, and years. And some of it is weeks because I've met them in a new program on the outside where we're all trying to bring comic book creators together. Because believe it or not, I'm in 5 active groups behind the scenes trying to get things done for the industry that no one knows about because we don't talk about them publicly. Meredith is part of that. We just announced the network, and that had been in the background now for a few months being built. And we only announced it when we were ready to announce it. And that's kind of what comics is. A lot of behind the scenes, very little in front of the camera until the product's done, until you're ready to launch it. And I think a lot of new creators do that. Flex without being ready. I announced 4 books that have never been made now. And it happens, maybe 5. It might actually be 5. So that happens. But earlier in my career, when I first did it, I went all in. Oh, no, this will definitely be done. I'm projecting a date. Now, as I've gotten into it, I'm like, hey, we're developing a story. We're trying to get this comic out. This is a planned event. And sometimes, I'll be honest, I don't even talk about it until I've got enough to show. So there are 3 comics right now that I'm working on. No one knows anything about it but my creative team. And I'm adding 2 more right now. And that's because one of those might fall apart. Don't know which one, or I wouldn't be putting energy into it. But just statistically speaking, sometimes something happens. And with the C19, I already had something that's changed one project indefinitely. And that's the reality of the situation. It's not always a bad creator. And sometimes, hey, one of the best things can happen is you're about to work with someone and they get super hot and they can't work with you anymore because they have to further their career. And if I'm on a book with someone like that, I back away and go, nope, you go. Chase that ball down the corridor. So, I mean, do I have enough energy? No, I'm tired, Meredith. I'm tired. I feel like if I could put strings up here to hold me up for the show and take a nap when it wasn't my turn, I would totally do it. But it's the passion, it's the love for comic books. That's why I said this is about love. Comic Book Advocates about love. Because when all that nasty stuff happened with people, I'm not going to bring it up because this is the launch of your show, so I'm not going to name names out of respect to you. But there are some bad operators. When they did everything they did and they made me want to give up on advocating for comic books, I found out I was just tired of advocating for creators. I still loved comics. And that's the whole focus on the comic books now. Because even if a creator comes out and they're a bad creator, I can say, well, I didn't advocate for them. I was advocating for that book. And that book's still a comic. That book still deserves to be there. We know something different now. Maybe we shouldn't touch that book. And just because a book's bad, like, I'm sorry, but I still like the Cosby Show. If they had it on air, I'd still watch it. I know he's horrible, but everyone's horrible. There are so many people in this world that are horrible. You could track back bad things that they have done. And I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying I like the Cosby Show. It's part of my childhood. It's what I grew up on. I can't take that away because someone did something. I can't stop liking House of Cards because the guy did something that people say he did. I just can't do it. It's not how I'm wired. I'm still going to like what I'm going to like because I expect Hollywood people to be doing drugs, cheating on their wife, doing crazy shit with an ocelot. I don't know why it's an ocelot, but it's always an ocelot or a chimp. I don't understand it. Neverland. Michael Jackson got sued a dozen times, won every time, but he was still inviting little kids to his place. I don't understand that. You think he would have been like, okay, people are freaked out about this. Even if I'm not doing anything wrong, it's time for me to step back. Nope. He's like, I just won my court case. Everyone come over. We'll do each other's nails. Fucking crazy, man. I'm telling you. But yeah, So
But you know what,
that,
Rob, that speaks to compartmentalizing, and you were even saying that with Jax, is that you have to compartmentalize, the teacher aspect to the dad aspect, and and that's how we learn. And for me, it's one of those things where I am not a newbie as far as creating things. I am not a newbie as far as layouts and things like that. I was in the newspaper business. I did layouts. I did a whole bunch of those things. And, so I do come in with a sort of knowledge, but I never threw it all into one project like a comic book. And, so those are things where I can take this bit of knowledge and stuff, but at the same time, compartmentalizing and saying, you know what? When Rob asked me to be part of the comic book advocates, I was like, I don't know shit about comic books, right? He's like, yeah, but I trust you. I was like, all right, well, what the hell am I going to bring to the table here? And I kind of stressed out about it. I said, maybe this is something, even though, I mean, I love working with you guys, and I struggled with it for a few days, and I was thinking of ways to back out of it graciously, but still find ways to help. And I said, you know what, maybe this is my opportunity. And when I thought of it as an opportunity, I wanted to seize on it and say, you know what, I can do something with this. I can take something that I've always wanted to do and flip it into something for good that brings other people along the journey with me. And I see that Brian here is asking if I wanted to move beyond just writing, such as editing and publishing. And yes, I've always wanted to do that. I've had it in my head that I wanted to do an actual magazine because I have that background. For me, it was just always like I didn't have a team. Again, it's one of those things where I embrace the indie, because if I wait for people to show up, they always have let me down in the past. So it's a path that I've always said, if I'm going to do this, I have to figure out a way to do it on my own 2 feet and do it. And then, things happen, life happens. Whether it's financial, whether it's a job, whether it's like, okay, well, I got offered a full-time job, and there's benefits, so something's got to go. Usually it was the creative side of things, because you're not going to make a lot of money when you're doing this. You have to do it for the passion. And that's where I am. And I'm lucky in the sense that I have a husband who supports me, and I am bringing in a little bit of money with the freelancing stuff that I do. So I do editing, I do writing, I do guest blogging. Launching the podcast and stuff is because I have the spare time. And I've actually turned down a job offer because I believe in these projects, and I believe that it'll take me to where I want to go, where, Brian's hashtag is bring Cookie home. Well, mine is bring Pat home, because that's my goal, is that eventually this will make it. So there is financial incentive for me to do my best, but it's to bring my husband home so he doesn't have to work so hard. And it's also doing the things that I love to do, all encompassed in this one huge project or network or whatever it is. For me, these are all stepping stones to where I want to be, because for the majority of my life, I've always said, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So, I still don't. And I don't ever want to find out what I want to be when I grow up, because it is always a learning experience. So, the best advice I could say is compartmentalize, set aside the time, make those little goals that you can achieve every single day, but have the broader view. Where do you want to be? How do you get there? What are these stepping stones? And then create those little goals to get you there. And that's where I am. I love to plan. I love to organize. I'm brainstorming all the time with things. And it's just with those ideas, unfortunately, there's only me. And so it feels good to see people in this network who are just as hungry as I am, not only to advocate for one another, but to create things and help each other along. I mean, you might be the drowning person out there, or you might be the life raft. You could be both to other people. And that is so important to me, to find the people who will do that and be on this journey with all of us, because we're in the same boat. You have to have a certain amount of humility, to do that. But you have to also be, in order to help people, you have to be in a place where you can help. You know, you don't want to be the one who drowns because you're helping the drowning person. You know, so there is that too. But yes, Brian, I've always wanted to expand into that, and I have. I've always been more behind the scenes. So all of this podcasting, being in front of the camera, this is all new, but not anything that I'm unfamiliar with.
Now, we do have other questions, but I do want to ask this. What are your immediate expectations for, because I want to say this, financially, it's ridiculous to expect any creator to do what they do and not get paid. I think the general public thinks that what we're doing should be a hobby sometimes, and they don't take it as serious as it is as an art form that it is out of the United States. And that's one of the goals that a lot of creators are coming together now. We have to kind of make people realize that there are billion-dollar movies being made off of comic book ideas. Stop. We're not some kid thing anymore. I don't care what your mom said. I don't care what your dad said. We have proven that comic books create amazing stories. So stop comparing us to things that aren't important. With that in mind, and I'm going to say it for Meredith, this is a business and an industry. We should get paid for what we do. We're not trying to do this. She is not at a level of a hobbyist because she's gotten paid to do this work. She is coming into this industry with her skills already in place. So while she's a comic noob, there's a lot of things I don't have to worry about. And one of the people I like her, why I like her so much as a person and as a creator, is she's got that fight. She wants to do this. She likes what she does, and she's not apologizing. She's not trying to be anyone but Meredith. And that is so important. That is so important, and I appreciate her for that. And she has my full support. And I know she's going to make mistakes, and I know she'll probably say some dumb things along the way. And I'll be there with her to stand by her side. And sometimes I'll say, you done said dumb shit, but don't worry, so have I, and I'm still here. Don't apologize too heavy. Just be like, look, I didn't mean it that way. If you want to get bent up about it, get bent. It's not how I meant it. Only I get to tell you why I created it. You don't get to interpret my words, because I'm the author of them. I tell you why they were. You can feel however you want, but I own my stuff. And yes, I thought you were an asshole. And own it, and just put it out there. But,
yeah, you have to own it. And let me tell you something. There's a line that you have to cross in your head. I want to say your mindset. Is this a hobby, or is this something that you want to do for a living? And you're going to act accordingly when you make up your mind. In my head, this is something that I want to make a living from because it's in the wheelhouse of my skill set. And I'm not just limiting myself to comic books. I am producing podcasts. I am getting on, iHeartRadio. I'm doing these networking. I'm writing. We're getting ready to launch another website for, through Geek Insider. So, I mean, there are just so many things that I've got my fingers in where we're almost to a point where I have to start saying no to stuff. And I have to really take a look at what I'm doing, where I want to go, and is it pushing me forward? So there is an agenda. I'm not going to lie. I have an agenda, and I want to be successful, but at the same time, I'm coming in here like, I don't know shit about comic books, guys. I really don't. I don't know the history. I have a few of my favorite characters, and maybe it's because I watched a movie and I'm like, oh, all the comic book fanatics are like, what the hell is she doing here? You know what? I don't care. I don't care because this is my journey. This is where I want to go. And, my comic book, I don't expect the first one to be a success. Are you kidding me? But I want that experience to say, you know what, I did it. And moving forward, maybe the journey will be a little bit easier. Maybe the next story is going to be better. Maybe it'll be embraced. Maybe I'll find people who will be on my team who can make the first attempt better, so that it would be embraced and things like that. So I'm open to being, I don't want to say torn apart, but it's okay to edit. It's okay to say that's not good, but be kind about it. If you're not moving the conversation forward, if you're not helping the journey, if you're not helping the skill set, I don't want to hear it. And I'll tell you that, because we don't want that type of feedback where you're only out there to tear people down. We want feedback that says that there is room for improvement. And honestly, as a human being, as well as a creator, there should always be room for improvement. That's the goal. Make it better. You're competing against yourself. And if you're out there trying to compete against Stan Lee or anybody, if you're a writer, if you're out there and you're writing horror and you say, I want to be the next Stephen King, good luck, buddy. You know what? You need to be competing against yourself. You need to be bettering your skill set, increasing the knowledge, always be on the pursuit of knowledge. Because the time that you sit there and say, I know it all, you're probably the stupidest one in the room. And I can't even tell you. So I know where my skill set is. I know what my boundaries are. I know my limitations. And whether I express those publicly, maybe you know them. I don't mind sharing them. I don't mind sharing them because I've gotten tough skin over the years, and maybe that's age, wisdom, just experience, where I've been cut down before. I've been rejected. It is heartbreaking still, and I won't say that it doesn't hurt when you get rejections, but at the same time, if you can open it up to being a learning opportunity, take it for what it is and move forward. That's what I want. That's all I'm asking for. And again, with the Comic Noob, it is taking that new thing, taking all the skill that I have and honing it into something to make a product or make a project that says, you know what, I did that. It's something that I'm proud of, whether it's good or bad. And that's what this journey is about. It's from start to finish. It's picking the brains of people who know a lot better than I do. It's taking the skill set that I have or that you have, any skill set that you have, and just say, you know what, how can I pivot to do this? If you're an artist, I had an interview with somebody who is a letterer. She letters for big time books, and she says, I'm an artist first, and I kind of fell into this, but she took her skill and she pivoted and has a successful business in doing what she does. So that is very exciting. You have the skill set. Don't say that you don't. I've always said, whether you're an artist, a musician, it doesn't matter. Any kind of creative endeavor, whatever it is, everybody has the capacity to do it. Everybody has the capacity to learn, but you're not going to come out of the gate being a prodigy. You're not going to be, Mozart. You're not going to be Van Gogh coming out of the gate. So but everybody has the capacity to pick up a pencil and draw a stick figure and then go from there. If you have the capacity to learn, you can do this. I lost your audio. I don't know if it's mine.
No, it's me. Jax is jumping in the background. I thought I clicked it and it double clicked on me. Carl Witzman says, hello, I am interested in seeing Meredith's journey. Where will she start and what will she consider success? And those are great questions, and only you can answer those. So,
well, we've got a couple of Facebook locations where we're going to be live streaming. So it'll be the OnCon experience. It'll also be on the Comic Noob and probably on the Geek Insider YouTube channel. So what do I consider success? That's not an easy question to answer. Success is basically if I can come away every week with a little more knowledge. That is what I consider success. I'm not looking at the complete comic book. I hope that it'll be done, but it's more about the journey and the learning and what I can glean from it. And maybe if I have to pivot because of life circumstances, at least I'll walk away with that bit of knowledge. So that to me is success. Did we have any other questions in here?
But what will you consider success? Okay, I'm going to push you on this one.
Okay.
Is it a comic, and when is that success? Because that's what we're talking about, the comic noobs. So right now, in your mind, let's set, because that's one of the most important things being a new person. It's a goal. So let's get it right now. What's the date that we'll be able to kickstart your comic? Because that's going to be the goal, not just to create the comic, but then to kickstart it.
Well, that's a great question. And I'm going to push back a little bit because for me, I see the Kickstarters and things like that. Now, I don't have a ton of money, so I can't just go out and say, here's my vision and hire an artist, right? So I have to take it a step at a time. So for my journey, I have a story. As a writer, I already have a story. So I want to take that story and I want to parse it out into a storyboard or a script or whatever it is that you call it. Again, I don't know. And in speaking to some of the people that I have up to this point, everybody does it differently. It's not like a standard, if you're writing a movie script, you have a format. Everybody's that I've talked to so far doesn't have a standard format. So I'm like, well, shit, how am I going to do this if there isn't a standard? So I almost have to find a pathway. That would be a success if I can take this story and make it into a workable script for somebody to say, I can work with that. I have this, how I imagine this panel to be. Or is it like, okay, well, if I'm kind of doing this by myself, I sent Rob a picture of Cat Dad that I drew, because I don't draw. And I was just like, this is fun. I just did it for fun. But, so, I mean, do I have to, as this comic noob, do I have to draw these silly little things just to get an idea of what the vision is and what I picture? As a comic book writer, do you need that skill set? So I apologize for the dog because my husband just woke up and they're all moving around. So, I mean, that to me would be a success where I could, say, okay, well, now this is, I've been able to script it out. Now it's finding people who see my vision. So, I mean, there are all of them are little successes. In the end, if you want me to lay down a deadline for myself, I would say a year out from now. A year out from now, I want to have a comic book, come hell or high water. And I strive for quality because I can't go otherwise. If I don't like it, I'm not just going to say, hey, I like that artwork just because, and then put out a subpar product. It's something that I want to be behind. So if you're asking me for a hard deadline, I'm going to say a year out from now, I want to have something that's published and sitting at a table and marketing this and selling it to you and implementing all of the things that I'm learning about being at cons, setting up my table, interacting with the people. So there you go. 1 year from now.
I know a year sounds like a lot of time. It's not, especially when you're trying to navigate. Like Meredith says, this will not be her primary focus nor primary job. She doesn't have $1 million, so that means she's going to have to worry about trying to even negotiate the right prices. Who will she work with to get this done? And will she have to, at one point, maybe even kickstart it to afford that? And those are all decisions she cannot make at this point, and I would not advise her to make that. Having that goal of a year, I think it's manageable. If she had told me 6 months, I would have told her no. And we talked about this before, and I told her, give yourself a year. A year is a nice, solid number because there's a lot of mistakes you're going to make, and she's going to be going on this journey that you guys are going to be part of. So I think a year is very informational for everyone to do. And Sarah S. says, I absorb info from all panels and podcasts I can. Learn from those who are more advanced. And it's not even just advanced, Sarah. It's also just experienced. I know people who are further up than me in certain respects that don't know as much as me, but they have something to teach me. And I know people below me who are just coming up that look at things in a different way. There are things Meredith will see on this journey we're taking together. She might say to me, and I'm like, I never looked at it that way, and I've learned from Meredith. So we can't look at it as more advanced, but I will say this. Always take the advice from the people who are in a position you want to be at. Never take advice from the people who are below a position. I've had people tell me things and I'm like, I look at them and I say, you're my friend. I respect your opinion. Don't be upset because I'm not following it. And I don't explain to them why. But some of the times I don't agree. And some of the times it's because I ask someone way above my pay grade who are literal professionals. And they go, no, you make a valid point. Do what I'm telling you to do. But I don't advertise that. And that's what you have to do. You have to build that circle of confidence. And when people above you want to speak, you shut up and you listen. Don't go to that table wanting to have. I've been at tables and people are like, you didn't really talk. I'm like, why should I? You know, I hate to put it, but I was invited to the adults table. I was part of the kids table. I'm not going to act like a kid and say something stupid. I'm going to absorb, listen, and I'm taking mental notes, if not actually on my phone writing down notes. Someone actually asked it. They were like, am I boring you right now? And I'm like, no, I've been taking notes. And they're like, you're serious? I turned my phone around. They were like, oh my God, you're actually taking notes. I was like, dude, this is education right now for dinner. Like, I'm buying you dinner and I'm getting a college course today. And that's what you got to do. Be open-eared. And that's why I love Meredith. She goes in and she asks intelligent questions.
And not only that, but if I don't know something, I'm not going to try and blow smoke. I will tell you, I don't know. I've done that with my kids when they were in school. You know, they asked me a question and they expect an answer. And if I don't know it, I'm not going to blow smoke. It's the same thing with anybody else who's going on this journey. If I have wisdom to impart, I will do it. If you're on a subject that I don't know anything about, I'm like, pass. You got to go to somebody else, because I can throw in an opinion and you can rip that apart all you want to, but I can't speak intelligently of it. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with saying I'm a dumbass in some aspects, because I'm not perfect and I don't know everything. And again, I don't want to be the stupidest person in the room, because I said I do know everything. That's just how I feel about it.
And those are solid points, and I can't stress that enough. It takes the ability to know when not to talk to be someone who's worth listening to. And that is something you all have to. I hope if you ever notice when I'm doing these panels, this is a very talkative panel for me. And that's because it's just me and Meredith, and it's a little bit more intimate about the creative process. Usually I let everyone else talk more than I do on the panels. And that's because I don't always have to be the one talking. I'll let other people make some great points, and I'll finish it off with what I thought. And sometimes, like Meredith said, if I don't know a subject well enough, I'm like, this isn't for me. I'm going to back away, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to learn. And we've had people on these panels that have allowed me to learn stuff and who are smarter than me. And I have no qualms about admitting it, shaking their hand and throwing it to them as, hey, you know more than me. Walk us through the process. So we also have a little more comments we want to get to this evening. One of them being from this guy named Brian. I think you know him, Brian K. Morris. I think the K stands for kick-ass or Kevin. I'm not sure. He said, bring Pat home.
Bring Pat home. That's the goal.
And then he said,
bring Cookie home.
Yeah, he said, I like that. Well, with this guy, you never know what he's liking. It could be anything. It just could be anything. He said that, and I'll be there saying dumber stuff than either of you. I don't know if you have more experience than me with certain things, Brian. I think we all have experience in certain ways. Like, I would love to sit down and talk with you about fetish and see just how much experience you have on a live interview. I'll be like, you said you know more than me. Please explain this, and I will pull that.
I don't want to divert from the subject, but there was this thing on it was something on TV. I can't even remember. This is a few years ago, and they were talking about fetishes and stuff like that. And there's one that is really interesting, not because I'm into it, but because it is fascinating to me, and I would love to write about it. But moving forward with this journey,
you have to tell us which one it was.
It was giantess fetishes.
Oh, yes. The little.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, where the guy loves to be little and he likes to be like stomped on by the giant woman or eaten and things like that.
Or reverse women like that. Like, you ever notice athletes with the really tiny girls?
Yes.
thing. That's so
What,
weird.
like, what is with that? I find that fascinating, and I find humor in it. I don't know why it makes me giggle, and maybe it's my own little fetish thing, but I've never imagined being, well, actually I have, because I'm 5'2", damn it. And I've always been the little one. So it would be nice to be like the gigantor, like Godzilla stomping on buildings and stuff like that. But as a mother, I have stepped on Matchbox cars and Legos, and that shit hurts. So there you go. I think I'm cured of the giantess fetish.
Legos are real torture. Like, I've never understood why they just don't put the terrorists in a room of Legos and put their food down and be like, yeah, you're going to have to walk on them. They're all glued in. I give up. I'll tell you anything you want. I'm sorry. I've stepped on 5 Legos. No, but
and Brian wants that conversation.
you know it. So and you know that when we look at that little girl and Shaquille O'Neal, am I saying little girl? I don't mean actual girl, just for the record. I'm referencing
this is a tiny petite little thing.
A woman of 18 or older who's dating Shaquille O'Neal, but is like 5 foot, thin as a rail, little tiny thing. You look at that picture and you're like, oh, that poor girl. And you can't, it's a perverted thought, but you can't help yourself being like, oh, honey, this ain't going to end well for you. I mean, if he's on top, you die. That's it. You're going to go out happy, but you're going to be dead. So, see what you did, Brian K. Morris? You took us somewhere dirty.
Yeah, wow, Brian, it's all your fault.
It's a good answer. I like that. I don't know what answer it was, but yes, I always like that. At least knowing where you want to arrive will help you decide your path, and that is true. And like when Meredith said to me, she's like, "Well, I don't know what to do," and I was like, "Well, you got to figure it out." Remember, that's what I said to you. I don't assign things. I want to know what you want to do. Early on, I used to ask people to do certain things, and they're like, "Yeah, I could do that." I found out right away that if you ask someone to do something, they're gonna not care as much as if you say, "What do you want to do?" And you hand them. And when you hand them something, you get to see right away, are they passionate? Like you said, at first you're like, "Do I want it? I don't really. This is more work." And then all of a sudden you're like, "But what if I did this?" And then you start going, that could be cool. I could really do that. That's something I want to do. And now you're invested. Now you're on a show and a panel. Next week you'll be talking to other creators, and I can help you get other creators, and you bring up different topics. As a matter of fact, I would say one of the best places for you to start next week is we could try to arrange you to sit down with an artist, because being able to understand what script you might want to tell an actual or give to an actual artist will really help you on your next step. Like, should I make a storyboard? What do I do with my script now? And talk to a couple artists. Maybe we'll get 2 of them on for you. So I think that'll be pretty good.
Yeah.
And then Brian, this guy again. Brian K. Morris said, in your brief time in this phase of your blooming creativity, what's the best advice you've gotten so far? That's a great question, Brian. Actually, we're teasing you, but this guy's a wealth of knowledge. And what's the worst, least helpful? The least helpful hasn't come yet. I'll tell you right now. There's always worse when you'll get the least helpful advice when you start getting successful. And it's like you hear advice and you're like, are you trying to stop me from actually being successful with this advice? But go ahead, I'll let you answer.
The best advice that I've gotten is actually 2 pieces of advice. One is make a decision. Is this a hobby, or is this something that you want to do for a living? And the other one is whatever you decide, don't quit. So those are the 2 best pieces of advice that I've gotten so far. And the least or the worst helpful would probably be somebody just saying, well, that's nice, dear. And they're not giving any direction at all. It's just this, I just say it's like a vomit compliment, because it means nothing. And it just kind of like, what does that mean? What is that? That's nice. Or I don't know. Part of it is that I've always had a hard time with compliments. I think that's a personality thing, because there's a part of me that says your compliment means if you're not somebody that I look up to and you're saying that's nice or that you did a great job and stuff like that, in my brain, all right, maybe it's my lizard brain, I'm going, that's not helping me. You're not giving me any cues to be become better. And in a way, I troll them in my head. Whereas if it's somebody that I respect and I look up to, and they said, well, that was good, but next time, in this area, I'd like to see a little bit more description, or what was she feeling, or whose head were you in, that type of thing. And so I'm more accepting of the critiques than I am of compliments. So, but if you're just putting something out there, they're like, oh, that was nice. Well, what the hell? What does that mean? How is that moving me forward? I don't want a stroke to my ego. Give me something that I can work with or improve on. Or if it was crap, tell me why. But don't just blow smoke. And I'm not saying that that's advice, but it's like the worst thing that I could possibly hear. And that's just me personally. I don't need that ego stroke. I really don't.
I definitely get, you want someone to be motivated to actually use words that sound excited and not like,
yeah,
sure, go do your thing. I'll be over here when you're done. So I totally understand that. As a writer, when I send out my stuff and I ask for them to give me a quick review, and they turn around and they go, it's okay, I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst thing I've ever written.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So I get that. Here we go. I just gave him a compliment, and he has to go stepping on toes. Brian K. Morris says, don't let Rob push you around, Meredith. Take 1 year and an extra day.
You know what? I might take 2.
Wow.
So there.
Defiance already.
I am.
Brian K. Morris. Oh, let's have the conversation. And with the dietness stuff, we must have Meredith part of that. Hey, we could go to Geekgasm. They talk about some crazy stuff on that show over there at Indie Vault.
That would be so fun.
And then Meredith, you're not little, you are fun size.
Fun size.
Hashtag it's Brian's fault. Now, finally, a hashtag that makes sense in this modern age. I can get behind that hashtag in a second. Now, one of the things that I do want to talk about is what Carl Whitman says. Can you tell I was a vocational counselor by these questions? And that's kind of true. Do you feel like this has been something that you've been working towards your whole life? And this is the first time you just finally feel like this is my time. I'm ready now.
Absolutely. Because I said it earlier, my entire life, I've struggled with saying, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I've kind of rejected that in the last few years. I will admit to you, I am a work in progress. There are many times where I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And the truth is, maybe I just don't want to grow up. And I want to do the fun, creative things. And if I can earn a living from it, all the better. Because, to kind of siphon off Brian's hashtag is bring Pat home. I'm motivated by providing for my family and doing the things that I want to do, because I know me, I'm a workaholic. I will never retire. I will retire when you're pulling my cold, dead hands off of my keyboard. And that's the God's honest truth, because I love what I do. And so doing this, it was one of those in the middle of the night, and I sent Rob a message, a Facebook message, and I said, I know what I can do for the comic book advocates. It would be my journey. It's kind of a personal one, but I want to open it up to everybody who wants to be on this journey. And maybe they'll be inspired by the fact that I'm middle-aged and starting from scratch. And that to me is very, very exciting. And I don't mind being vulnerable, and I don't mind the trolls coming out and saying, well, that was a dumbass thing to say or do or whatever, because that doesn't matter to me. The trolls don't matter to me. The journey is what matters. And the long-term goal of saying, hey, you know what? I'm sitting at a table with my book that I was able to create with the help of this entire community who got together, took the I out of indie, okay, and made this happen. So it is a group effort, and it is something that I cannot wait to. The last thing would be the acknowledgments page, and I cannot wait to fill that up.
I see what you did there with my eye. That's a sweet gesture. You done turned the eye back on me. Oops.
I did.
Well played. Well played. You must be a writer. Also, some artists want to be part of the story, create part of the stories. I think he means stories creation, while others want to simply bring your vision to life. It differs. That's very true. And some people will be motivated for different reasons. Some people will fall in love with your story and want to do the best job they ever can. Some people want to further their career by doing a job, and some people just want to get paid. So picking an artist will definitely kind of change the trajectory of everything else you got going on. Difficulty in accepting compliments is akin to imposter syndrome, which could be an episode in itself. And that's actually not a bad topic.
That is a very good topic.
Not only am I going to write down that topic, but there's things I want to say about that. I'm going to invite you on now. 2 weeks from now, that could be our Monday topic. I like to start off our week pretty heavy. So I think imposter syndrome is a great.
All right, Brian, you've been voluntold.
Well, he can say no, and I'll just come to his show for the next week, egging him on, being like, "I know you just don't want to come because you don't like me," and I'll guilt him. I'll guilt him. Like I grew up in a neighborhood with old Jewish women. I know the ways of the guilt. They have taught me well.
You know what? And Carl would probably be a great panel guest for that too, being a vocational counselor. Absolutely.
Carl, I like that, Meredith. That's a good one. I'll reach out to Carl. Carl, if you're still watching, we haven't had you on the show either. You ask great questions. If you want to be part of that, I would love to be part of that. Not this Monday, but the following Monday. That would be in not this Monday, Brian, so I can see the comments.
Next Monday.
Yeah, next Monday. This Monday actually will be ideas for better cons. So we're actually going to sit down, and I would like you on that one, Brian K. Morse. And Meredith, I'd actually like you on this too, because you've been to enough cons where you could kind of go from different points of view. And the basic idea will be we'll make a video from our point of view, from you doing press and as a fan, from me as a fan, as a panelist, as a guest, as a table runner, and as the person chasing their 5-year-old. I'll have advice from that angle, and Brian K. Morris can have some from his. So pencil your next 2 Mondays in with me, Brian. Meredith is feisty as a hashtag. You know what? I'll give this. This is a random little thing for you guys, but I realized I was making a mistake about a month ago with hashtags. So I was using hashtags as personal vanity plates. So I was coming up with like hashtag Meredith is feisty would be a perfect thing, and nothing wrong with the Brian K. Morris. But I wasn't realizing that if you're going to hashtag that, you'd also have to hashtag something of importance. And I wasn't doing that enough. So I was putting, like, when we did Kickstarter pause, hashtag Kickstarter pause, and I wasn't using hashtag Kickstarter to go with it, or making sure hashtag Kickstarter went before mine if I ran out of room. So just as a little tip, don't always do the vanity ones. I mean, that's the hashtag bring Pat home. That's something you can have trend. Same as he does with hashtag bring Cookie home. If you actually click on that, I'm sure you've had 100 people talk about that now, because Brian K. Morris has really pushed that well. He also says, and the best part is when an artist or someone else you respect asks to work with you. Oh my God, that has been like, when I can actually go to my page and I see a message and they go, I heard you talking about this story. I want to work on it with you. And I'm like, what? Like that would
do you have the Luke Stone cover?
I do.
You have that handy? I want to see that again. I absolutely love his rendition of it. It's just amazing.
And he just did this, and I was teasing him, and I was like, well, you can always draw that. And he's like, I'd love to draw that. He drew this. Don't tell Chuck, but we're going to try to pitch Chuck a story and hopefully get him on so we can do a whole new story with the universe. And it's going to be cool. It's going to be part of my my Alter Realms idea, where we're trying to we're calling it Alter Realms because we want to take indie creations and put them in new worlds that they don't necessarily belong. Kind of coming from what we were doing even with Indie Advocates, and we might alter realms into not Indie Advocates, the Advocator. Well, the Advocator comic, we're going to try to do that. So I've got, again, a lot of things boiling in my mind. But yeah,
well, that would be so cool to see Cat Dad and Supermom in the Hybrids universe.
That would be interesting, right? See, that's why I like. There are possibilities that you could just put there. They could be temporarily there, but it doesn't affect anyone's main story. It could be a crossover. I think it's just a fun way to play with creations between creators, especially knowing that it's never going to be canon, and you don't have to worry about it affecting your world. So Monday, I'm penciling it in. There it is. Yes, pencil in both Mondays. Carl, you're on. Apparently, Carl's on the show. Cool. Welcome to it, Carl.
Carl, you've been voluntold too.
Luke is the best. Hashtag Luke rocks. And I put in the hashtag there. So there I go, making vanity hashtags again. I have a problem. We're going to have an intervention, but that's another show. We've reached our 1 hour mark, so I think we're going to end it here because we, of course, want it to become a show. We don't want to talk too much. We want to leave you wanting more. So I hope this has started a conversation in your mind. I hope that the light bulb above your head has gone off and you have ideas.
Ooh, how fancy. But before we go, because I have been advocating for Cat Dad and Supermom, how close are you to hitting 100 supporters?
Last I checked, believe it or not, I believe we're at 12. Just
12 more people. Come on, people.
Let's do a live. We'll go live. I actually took off a few hours because I had to do some schooling with the boy, and then I just every so often he just needs a timeout. He needs some daddy time and me, because especially being the principal and the teacher now, I don't want to ruin my relationship with my son over this. So we just laid around and he watched his tablet. I watched my phone and I answered some questions. So here we go.
I have to say,
hold on,
as the mother, my baby is 21 years old, and at this point in time, they're kind of their own people, and they are, I kind of live to kind of embarrass them a little bit. They're like, oh my gosh, that's my mother.
Okay, so we still need 12 people. I think it's showing. It's going to show. Is it going to show? Fingers crossed. There we go. There we go. Yep. So 12 people. And Jax is growing up too quick. Jack, come here, buddy. Come say hi. Come here. Come here, Noisy. Come here, Noisy. Come here. Come say hi to Meredith. Oh. Say hello.
Hey.
Hey. You don't have to
Hey.
yell. Look. Is that Cat Dad? Can you say Cat Dad? No, he's not doing it. He's like, I'm not your puppet, old man. See, I miss the little boy who wanted to impress me at every minute. He no longer cares about impressing me most times. I miss that. But yeah, 12. Just 12 backers and we get that 100.
Come on. We can do this. We're going to get it done. We are going to get it done.
Well, Brian K. Morris did a great job today. I had a lot of friends step up and back it out of nowhere. So I'm really impressed. I have to actually go do some milk. Here goes Cat Dad doing milk. Insert jokes here. So I'm going to let Meredith take over the show. I'm going to sign off at this point because Meredith's going to tell you what's going to be coming up in this first season of Meredith the Noob.
All right, you guys. So once again, I'm Meredith Lochran. I am the comic noob and a new addition to the Comic Book Advocating Network. And again, I came into this not knowing anything. I don't know crap. And my goal is to be on this journey to get it done. I want to know the ins and outs of it. I want to know all the little details, all the good and the bad. I'm going to be tripping over this journey to get my comic book done. And if you watched the live stream today, I've committed to trying my best to get a comic book finished in 1 year. And that is, I have a script. I'm starting with a script, and I do have a certain amount of knowledge as far as layouts and things like that, but that's more for magazines and things. How does that translate into the comic books? I've also got small business experience. So I know that as a creator and an independent one at that, being considering this as a business, because I've decided that this is a path that I want to do, not as a hobby, but as to make a living, and taking all of my skills and incorporating into this project as well as many others, whether it's through Geek Insider, whether it's through comic book advocating, whether it's through my own stuff. I have books and things, and for the longest time, I kind of sat on my butt and I said, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I refuse to grow up. I'm not going to do it, but I am going to age. And with age comes a little bit of wisdom. And with that, I hope to share the journey so that I can help other people with those experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It doesn't matter, because as long as we're being real about it, then it will help other people. I truly believe that in my heart of hearts. So I am so thankful for the people that I'm connecting with Rob, with Brian, Luke Stone, Chuck Pinot, all of the people who have been panelists in, Geek Out Virtual Con is a great example, where I was able to connect with so many people, creators of all kinds in all different genres. And it's really exciting because, again, it's one of those things where I had to ask myself, when was the last time I did something for the first time? And I'm there. So this is a really exciting leg of my life journey, I want to say, because I want to take the skills and I want to pivot into something that has always appealed to me, and I never saw a pathway before. So if you are so inclined, follow me on the Comic Noob. I created a Facebook page. There isn't much in there, but we'll be housing some things in there as well. I am also going to be recording this through the Geek Insider YouTube channel, as well as my own channels. I am working on my own website, so that is pending. And Comic Book Advocating Network, OnCon Experience, all of these Facebook groups, definitely join them. Follow these guys. Whenever I will be inviting people either to panels or one-on-one interviews, and I'm really excited about that. So if you are tuning in and you're not following them, please do, because it really helps. The more people that you follow and you give that like button and you share it and you leave a comment, it helps the algorithms. It helps them show up a little bit higher on your Google searches, and that's really important. Another thing that Brian had said before is leaving reviews, whether it's for comic books, whether it's for books or movies. Anybody who's putting stuff out there who dare to take that leap and release their child into the world should have that kind of support. And if you don't have anything nice to say, maybe sit on your hands for a day and think about it. Because it is okay to critique things. It is not okay to tear somebody else down, because they are also on a journey and you don't know what they're going through unless you have walked a mile in their shoes. So on that note, I don't know if Rob is back, but that's really my message to you guys. Tentatively, and it's getting a little bit more in pen. The Comic Noob show is going to be on Friday evenings at 9 p.m. And again, that's not quite in pen yet, because I don't want to compete with other people. If there's a show out there, I will move my time. I am that flexible. Because here's the thing, as we are kind of shut down, more and more people are getting online, and I don't want us to cannibalize our audience. If there's a show that you love watching, but you want to tune into mine, I can shift mine because it's new and I haven't settled on a date and time. I have settled on a Friday. That's the best day for me, but I haven't settled on the time. And if there's a better time for all of you guys to tune in, great, let me know. Otherwise, it is tentatively 9 p.m. Friday nights Eastern. And again, let me know, because I don't want to be that person who says, well, you got a show and I don't care. I don't want to be that person. So reach out to me and let me know, because I want you guys, and it doesn't matter whether you're a pro or a noob or curious, tune in and come on the journey with me. And Rob said he was doing the milk thing, and I don't see him in the studio. There you are. Okay, okay. There you are.
Yeah.
So I kind of went through
yeah. Well said, Meredith, and I'm going to end the show. I want to thank Meredith for actually being part of course. This is all part now of the newly branded comicbookadvocates.com, and of course, by default, is part of the online comic book convention. She's trying to get around it. I beat this one. So this is also part of the Advocating Network /channel here on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. Also, we have now teamed up, not with just only the Comic Noob, not only with Brian K. Morris and so many other people, but also the Geek Insider. And finally, guys, be kind and share. The last word goes to Meredith. Go ahead, Meredith. Sign us off.
Oh my gosh, you just put me on the spot. What am I signing off for? This is the Comic Book Advocating Network, and I am Meredith Loughran, the Comic Noob. Stay tuned for more, and be sure to tune into these panels 4 o'clock every day with Rob Anderson and his crew of amazing people. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for having me, Rob.
You're welcome. We'll see you next week. This weekend, we'll have some cool programming, so stay tuned on social media to see what we're up to.